Hello, and welcome. Originally, when I found out that Riley was making a response video to The Cycle Ends Here, I wasn't really expecting her to ever respond because sonic93 has already said what needed to be said. Due to how poorly Rylu's video on the simple basis of research was, so there wasn't really much what Rylu would say. But now that she did, I'm quite disappointed with the results, and it is what I expected. Just another horrible video than the last video. How I discovered that Rylu was planning a response video is due to another video that she made in the beginning of this year. What is important in that video is the statement within that Rylu was planning to make a response video to The Cycle Ends Here.
This video is going to go up long before my response to Moondisc's video in regards to the sonic93 drama that happened over 6 years ago.
Considering Rylu disabled the comment section, I made a list of questions to her previous post before the video was released, but made the list a month later. I will be using the list in this video as an industrial response to her newest video about the subject, and here we are. 2 years later, and honestly, it was terrible the first time. But the second coming is horrible just by listening through it, but that's why we're here. Now, before I begin, I do need to say a few clarifications. Number 1. I'm not going to cover everything that is presented in Rylu's video. It is due to her mumbling out words that don't contribute to her point, or it has nothing to do with the argument. So anything that doesn't involve the subject line will be cut out. Number 2. The following content will contain old events that will be confusing to some viewers. Context will be provided in the matters of the presentation if needed. This video is not designed to tell the whole story of the events of sonic93. Number 3. Do not go after anyone mentioned in the video. I do not condone such actions such as witch hunt, bullying, and influence harassment. Number 4. I'm not only here to give constructive criticism. I'm here to correct the mistakes that Rylu made in her video because she didn't get it the first time. Number 5. Watch and listen. This is important. Some people responded with ignorance on the last video, and it would be more appreciated if you sit down and listen to what the video is showcasing. Good? Good. Alright, let's get started.
First off, I'm a little confused when you start to mention Amy-chan. Are you referring to us still being friends to this day, or we were friends when we made the rant videos? Like, it's off to a really bad start to not clarify the current status of our friendship. I know that you did it later on in the video, but it's still poorly executed to not do it right away when introducing someone. Secondly, regarding Jane and Yoshi 1, I wouldn't say we made multiple rants on them, especially on Yoshi since we only did 2 videos of him, but we're planning on making a third one. And with Jane, the multiple videos on her were never planned, it just happened. Either way, I wouldn't call it multiple on her either, since originally it was up from 7 to 9 videos due to her creating more drama after we plan on stop doing more. And furthermore, neither me nor Amy said she was a boy crazy for Supersonic and Shadow. I don't know why you even thought of saying Supersonic instead of just Sonic, and we were only explaining her feelings and treatment towards them. And lastly, and I can't stress this repetitive narrative enough, Amy was the one to claim that Yoshi 1 could be the next Paul and Amy, and if he actually cared enough to watch the entire 2 videos of him, she was the one whom addressed that subject during almost the entire part 2 video. I barely had anything to say on the matter.
I really think this guy is the next Paul and Amy. For those of you who don't know who Paul was, he was a follower of probably the most infamous Sonic-obsessed person ever, Alex Henriel. And just like Yoshi, he was so deeply obsessed with Amy to the point where it got so bad, he believed that he was actually married to Amy and had 2 kids with her, even though he said he knew the difference between fiction and reality. But then years later, he had raped 5 young girls between the ages of 3 and 8, and currently, the guy is in jail. For more information on him, go check out the video made by the Blackbuster Critic, who is now known as Blackbuster Show. He explains everything that there is to know about Paul. So if Yoshi is this bad now, how do you think he'll be in a few years? What would happen if Yoshi meets a girl cosplaying as Amy? or just any girl for that matter. Because according to Paul's court document, Paul had lured these girls into his room, making them think they were just going to play computer games. And Paul himself had said this: "I don't know why I did it. The opportunity was there. I betrayed their trust." You see what I mean? With Yoshi's obsession for Amy being this bad, who's to say he won't do the same by luring any girl or a cosplayer with a lie?
And I might add, it had nothing to do with him having autism or Asperger's.
Okay, one, appreciate the correction in regards to the introduction of you and Amy-chan. That was a mistake on my part. Probably should have clarified that a bit more in the beginning and saying that was Amy who was the one who deemed Brandon as the next Paul and Amy. But, I mean, I still felt like as if you agreed with that statement regardless, but that's not really important right now. Still, I appreciate the correction upon my mistakes there. And two, even if the 2, 3, or 7 out of 11 or 12 videos on Akai weren't planned, they really didn't need to happen in the first place. 1 rant? Sure. 2 rants? Maybe. 3 rants? I mean, alright, but 3 would be enough. 11 to 12 is just too much. Honestly, that is very exhausting just by saying that and that alone.
It is important, and I'll tell you why. The first problem is that you were the one who made that statement, but pointed the finger to the wrong person in your video. You spread a faulted action on Sonic93 that she never committed. The second problem is that you tried to downplay it like it wasn't a big deal. You hardly took any research to fact check from the Yoshi1 rants if the accusations was true along with your accountability, which makes it very unprofessional for someone who claims her video to be a documentary. It was never important what Sonic93 agreed with Amy-chan calling Yoshi1 the next Paul and Amy. That's not the argument here. What truly is important is that Sonic93 never deemed Yoshi1 to be the next Paul and Amy. That was Amy-chan. That's why it's important to do your research. It's ludicrous how you admitted that you done goofed, but follow up by saying, "I still felt like," as if you agreed with that statement regardless. That is very disingenuous of you to still trying to find an excuse to blame Sonic93. This is 1 out of the 2 accusations that Sonic93 took the blame for someone else's actions for no reason. You're just the many who fell for the lie and took it as truth. And who are you to say it was too much? There is no rule that you can't make multiple videos on a subject. I'm all for it, so as long as there's something new on the table to keep things interesting and not get stuck on a loop where it becomes a glaring problem.
And while it is good, and by that I mean extremely good, that Brandon didn't become the next Paul and Amy, thank Arceus for that, you still felt as if Brandon was creepy and weird, and yes, while him having autism doesn't excuse what he said and did back when he used to be on DeviantArt, the videos you and Amy made on him kinda didn't help matters in the long run either.
I know you include both Amy-chan and Sonic93, but you make it sound like Sonic93 was the only one who did all that. Keep in mind that Amy-chan also was part of the Yoshi1 rants and who spoke the most about him in the second rant video. It would be more appreciated if you provide examples of why the Yoshi1 rants didn't help matters in the long run. That's a very vague statement you made there, considering he was mostly inactive after the rants. More importantly, I'm going to remember when you said, while him having autism doesn't excuse what he said or did, which I agree with, because you shouldn't use mental health as an excuse for your actions. That's fine by me, so as long as you don't backpedal from what you said.
And in my belief, and in my opinion, all Brandon was a socially awkward autistic kid who may or may not have been sheltered or traumatized, and tried to find solace in the Sonic fandom, and felt comfort in the Son-Amy ships, and Amy being his comfort character. But hey, it's just a theory on my part. And Brandon may have not been taught how to speak or act appropriately towards people, mainly how he spoke about women. Again, it was weird and creepy and shallow, but at least he wasn't a rapist like Paul and Amy.
I was wrong. You definitely backpedal from what you said previously. Look, Yoshi1 clearly is autistic. Gee, who would have guessed? but that doesn't excuse his actions he has made throughout his time on DA. Harassing people, shoving his religion down on people's throats, making alternative accounts pretending to be someone else, threatening Sonic93 to take down the first Yoshi 1 video, claims Amy-chan and Sonic93 were cyberbullying him, claims other people to be bullying him, having disingenuous apologies, and the list goes on, and it's all in their video. You said that while him having autism doesn't excuse what he said or did, so why are you excusing his actions because of his autism? What's with the contradiction here? Now tell me, after all that, you still think it's just a theory? And I do want to make this perfectly clear to everyone. Yoshi 1 was never a rapist like Paul and Amy. That was a mistake made by Amy-chan. But that does not mean it mitigates the rest of what Amy-chan and Sonic93 call them out for.
And I know this is a bit of a taboo subject, but at least he had the common decency to age up Amy Rose in his own personal AU/fantasy or whatever. Jane, on the other hand, yeah, among all the videos prior to the 3 videos before the others that eventually came out over time that y'all made on her, this could be from my perspective and my perspective alone. The fact that y'all got on her ass in regards to her OC being shipped with Sonic, Shadow, both or either of the two, her hatred for Amy Rose, seems to me like y'all just rated on her for that as well as the comics she posted as well, more so than her behaviors and the things she said and done in the past.
You can't blame Sonic93 for Yoshi 1 going to therapy or any misfortune that he dealt because of the rant videos or the backlash. He did that to himself due to how immature he was acting during his time in DA. And it also comes to apparent that Sonic93 does not condone harassment whether she says it or not. People who watch her content know that she doesn't, and that is an activity nobody should be doing in the first place. The rants are videos expressing one's dislike about another, either it be art or conduct or both. And that's how Amy-chan and Sonic93 process how Yoshi 1 acted by their own design. But that doesn't mean it gives the reason to go and harass him because of one's dislike. Amy-chan and Sonic93 never condoned that. My interpretation is that people went after Yoshi 1 because Amy-chan implied that he was a future pedophile by comparing him to Paul and Amy. I would say my response about Railu saying stuff about Jane, but I'll cover it on the next point.
You're making it sound like I was only bothering Jane, and yes, I also refer her as Jane since she prefers to be called that way, and bashing her because of her so-called multi-shipping even though she mainly ships herself with Sonic and Shadow, and her hating on Amy wasn't a big deal when back then she non-stop showed just how much she hates Amy Rose, mainly as Alduin stated in her video on me, it gets in the way of her shipping. Meaning because of Son Amy and Shad Amy. The point on the rant series was to never harass her, only to call her out on her behavior, as people are saying the same thing to me, right? So what gives? How am I being in the wrong for doing something that made me likable from the start?
Now, I do agree with that. Jane did go a little too far with her hate on Amy Rose because of it getting in the way of her ship. That's like with me saying I hate Stella because there's a ship between her and Stryker called Strella, and it gets in the way of my ship Strixie, which is a ship between Stryker, my imp-persona Pixie Feathers, so therefore I hate the character. That's not necessarily a valid reason to hate the character. I'm going off topic for a bit here to hopefully clarify what I'm trying to say. Hate a character all you want, but if there's a ship between the character you hate and a character you like that quote-unquote gets in the way of your ship, I somewhat understand, but don't at the same time, if that makes sense.
What part of it you don't understand? You just heard Sonic93 explaining why she made her rant videos on Jane, aka Akai Dahlia, because she showed how much she hates Amy Rose due to her just existing, and as well that it gets in the way of her shipping. The concept itself is not the problem. It was the continuance of Jane's hatred towards Amy Rose. That was the problem, and thus the reason was born on why Amy-chan and Sonic93 made the rants to begin with, calling Jane out for her hatred towards Amy Rose and Jane's behavior throughout her time in DA. That's why everyone back then liked those rants. but clearly you took the mindset from Alduin's video. That is where most people are getting it from. However, there is many flaws in her video against sonic93, and here's why. What Alduin tried to do with sonic93 was not close in comparison with her many accusations, so let me eliminate a few. sonic93 never hated Blaze the cat the same way Jane hates Amy Rose. sonic93 never drew hate art of Blaze the same way either. And not only that, called sonic93 a hypocrite because she ships herself with two characters the same way Jane does, shipping herself with Silver the Hedgehog and Raphael from TMNT. However, it is not the same, because she doesn't ship them both at the same time, and Raphael is treated more like a friend, and both of them are from different universes, while Jane ships herself with Sonic or Maurice and Shadow at the same time. Jane's OC loves Sonic or Maurice, but treats him lesser and dramatically different, but puts more affection towards Shadow. And not to mention the both of them are from the same universe. Even if you consider it the same, Alduin is a hypocrite of the same concept because she ships herself with two characters as well, with Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Eddie Gluskin from Outlast. So by design, Alduin should be at fault for the same concept. You can't call someone a hypocrite when you're doing the exact same thing you are criticizing. And that's who Alduin is, a hypocrite.
While the Rant series on Akai did make you likable from the start, at the same time, the internet was geared more towards those with the same thought as you were, and times were much different back then, rather than they are right now. The internet was way more Puritan back then, people. Again, I agree with making a rant or a call-out post on someone in regards to their behavior, but after a video or two more, and as the series went on, I felt as if it was more about her obsession with Sonic/Shadow X self-insert, or OC, and her admittedly unnecessarily but valid in her own weird way hatred towards Amy Rose rather than her behaviors. Again, you and Amy-chan did call out her behaviors towards her followers and her simple thank you comments on fanart while singing the praises of others she seemed to love more, which is a good thing.
You have no hope as it is. One does not find knowledge by simply looking for it. You really need to start paying more attention to what is being said for someone who makes a series and calls it a documentary. Your attention is needed to extract information from the source material. So far, you keep forgetting what is being said when in reality, you are not listening to what is being said. And that results of you not knowing anything at all, and still go with what you think when it needs to be the factual event to what actually happened. That is what makes it substantial when context is present. You think in a mindset of ignorance. This just reminds me of another video from a YouTuber named Innocent Beanie. Fantastic video, by the way, who criticized you for not providing context in your previous video about the subject. She was completely new to the situation and couldn't grasp the information you displayed and end up asking more questions than answers. You people should really watch that video to see how a newcomer's perspective really shows how confusing a video is when you don't put optimal research in a subject.
It felt less like a call out and more like an ew, can an X self-insert and polygamy marry Sue shit troll fest. I'm not saying Ruth and Amy were trolls, but it's the best way I can describe it.
So what's wrong with it?
What I just watched was single-handedly the worst YouTube video I've ever seen. At no point in your 15-minute rambling bitch fest was there anything close to what the video was advertising. I dislike this video, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Wow.
So you're calling them trolls. There's no other way of putting it. You are literally calling them trolls. Were you even aware of what you were actually saying when you recorded this? sonic93 made it very clear that the point of the rants was never to harass Jane, only to call out on her behavior. Once again, Her shipping with Sonic and Shadow was not the problem. It was the excessive hatred towards Amy Rose. So what is your stance to this point? You agreed that Jane's hatred towards Amy Rose was a little too far, yet you are calling both Amy-chan and Sonic93 trolls for the very thing you are agreeing with. Your response to this point is counterintuitive, and it's very clear that you didn't change your opinion about what you said 2 years ago.
Also, let's not forget the fact that you also have or had a hate boner for Blaze the cat once upon a time because she was shipped with Silver. At least that's what it seemed like to my knowledge, of course.
But the fan base is literally acting like she's a goddess. People mainly love her because she's a cat, purple, and has pyrokinesis. Has way too many fanboys that back when I was on DA, I had literally 5 friends or even more who loved Blaze, and all of them were guys too. I constantly see people saying how hot and sexy she is, how she's their favorite character everywhere. Blaze is technically more overrated than a Mary Sue, but I still count her as a Mary Sue for the fanbase because of how they treat her like she's a goddess.
Lad! Don't touch him!
I'll take
Yeah, I said it. It's my first time saying this, so have mercy on me. Oh, he looks so cute when he's confused. And Blaze, would you stop saying it's a bad thing?
I've always liked that about you.
Oh, see, you like that he's naive. So do I, but I don't say like it's a bad thing all the time.
What's wrong?
I wish I could be in Blaze's place right now.
Well, Blaze? To kill someone to save the world.
He's so sweet.
Is that really the right thing to do?
Oh, adorable.
You're so naive.
Shut up, leave him alone.
This proves nothing that Sonic93 hates Blaze. The first clip is more about her complaining about the fanbase treating Blaze as a perfect character and why she thinks Blaze is overrated. That's not her hating on Blaze. That's her giving an opinion about Blaze and the fanbase about the character. The second is just her being a fangirl. No issues here. The third is understandable to why Sonic93 said shut up to what Blaze said to Silver because he was asking a serious question and got insulted by Blaze, calling him naive. This only shows me that you are intentionally misrepresenting Sonic93 for the purpose to make her look bad by displaying a false narrative that she hates Blaze the cat, when in reality she doesn't. She only admitted to being jealous because Blaze is always around with Silver.
How can I bash Yoshi1 for being a Sanemi fanboy when I stated I was offended as a Sanemi fan for him showing just how over-obsessive he was with the pairing? He compared the pairing to his personal beliefs, excessively compared also to the show Hey Arnold with how Helga treated Arnold throughout the show, and even went so far to bash Ian Flynn, the writer of the Sonic Archie comics, because there was no Sanemi in it before the entire comic franchise got rebooted. Where's the bashing coming in the picture?
Well, I'll give her that one. But saying you were quote-unquote offended as a Sanemi fan was what I'd call bashing. Saying you're offended as an insert character or pairing from a Phantom Here fan, and the tone of voice really shows quite a lot. I mean, be offended all you want. I'm not trying to stop you from it. And again, Brandon's obsession was odd, but let's keep in mind that Brandon is autistic and was probably sheltered growing up, especially if he was growing up as an autistic person in a conservative Christian household.
Whoa. So you're going to ignore all of the reasons why Sonic93 was offended as a Sanemi fan from Yoshi1. And what crossed your mind that Sonic93 being offended is what you consider bashing? You don't go into detail to why you consider it, aside you only basing it on the tone of her voice. Excuse me for saying this, who the fuck cares? That is the most stupidest mindset you have displayed so far. And like I said before, just because he is autistic doesn't mean it excuses his actions. Stop doing that. That is extremely insufferable. You should not be criticizing anyone's tone of voice when you are speaking in a very ignorant tone and mindset from this response and what you said in your original video.
Oh my goodness. Once again, what are you referring to? What has Amy quote-unquote grown up and being matured from? From making rant videos with me? Or do you mean the aftermath of the drama? I'm not following with what you're trying to say here. All I'm hearing is the same old, Amy's better than sonic93, Amy handled this whole situation maturingly, and did nothing wrong, yada, yada, yada.
Again, I'll give her that one. I do word myself poorly, and if I had an editor, I would have said Amy moved on from ranting after the dramas regarding Brandon, Jane, and Aaron had finally died down, yada yada yada, etc, etc. I could agree with her on that. Honestly, that's just a valid critique I have there. I have a tendency to word myself in a way people don't really understand what I'm trying to say, but I am trying to improve on that. Again, if I had an editor or looked over the script more closely, I would have worded what I said about Amy growing up and moving on from ranting in a different way than what I said in that video. I will give Ruth props for having valid critiques in regards to the video in question. Sadly, I am a she-they army of one and can't afford a team to help me make my videos. If people helped me out for free, I would feel bad and would feel better if they had some form of payment. Unfortunately, for a lot of you out there who say, I need a team to help me on content creation, I kind of feel as if I'm better off as my own editor, artist, and boss for the time being.
So far from this video, I don't believe that you are trying to improve because you are making the same mistakes what you did 2 years ago. And it took you 2 years just to tell us that you have a tendency in a way that people don't really understand what you are trying to say. Wow, shocker. And as far as from this video, you are just making excuses for the actions of what Jane and Yoshuri 1 has done in the past, being counterintuitive to what you are agreeing when you are being corrected on the subject. But hey, it never hurts to start, right?
I just love how people keep stating the same narration of me being controlling, manipulative, abusive, and even possessive towards Amy. Yet, here's the thing. If the so-called red flags were already there according to Amy, why didn't she cut ties with me then? How come she never ever established all those things to me? Not to mention, why did she beg me not to leave her? It was not the other way around. And by the way, someone who is so-called possessive and abusive tends to not want to let the other person go, right? So, has it ever occurred to you of why I cut ties with Amy in the first place?
That's not how toxic friendships work, honey. Yeah, there are different kinds of toxic friendships, but yours with Amy was one that began when you two were teenagers, ripe young ages of 13, if memory serves, from yours and Amy's Q&A videos. Obviously it wasn't toxic back then, but as time went on, during the interview Amy had with Dumbsville, she stated that you went to her about Melody criticizing Silver's character while being a Silver fangirl herself. You seemed pretty butthurt about it, and Amy felt like it was basically a nothing burger. And that's like me seeing a person criticizing Stryker's character while being a Stryker fan themselves, going to my friends and rant and vent about it and ask them to collaborate with me to make a rant video on them, and they see me being mad about this as a nothing burger to them. It's the same thing no matter what fandom you're in or what character you like. And if I were as done with them as you were with Amy and cut ties with them and they were begging me not to leave, I would have to rethink my whole entire life and life choices by the end of my non-existent online career as a content creator, bro. Also, you know what? I'm gonna play the clips in the interview with Amy and Dumbsville.
I don't remember what she said. I think she said call me or something. Like, I don't remember how it started. But, we were starting a voice call and Gmod muted himself so she wouldn't hear him, but he was able to hear everything, so he witnessed this, basically. As soon as I hit the button to answer the call, as soon as soon as I could hear her, the first thing I hear is screaming.
Oh, fuck.
Oh.
As soon as I answer that call, she's screaming.
Oh, no.
Oh, jeez.
And she's screaming, and she's back to calling me a backstabber, and, you know, going on how she can't trust me or whatever. Like, it's bad. Like, the way she was, like, you know how she screams in her videos? Like, imagine that, but worse.
Jeez.
And more angry.
Oh my god.
We had arguments over things, but it didn't get to this point. It didn't get to the point where she was literally screaming and calling me all these names, and it didn't get this bad. Like, this is the worst she's ever been towards me. I was saying, I'm so sorry. I was saying, I shouldn't have done this. I was saying anything I could to make her stop, pretty much. But it wasn't working. She wasn't having it.
Mm-hmm. That's insane.
And, you know, at the very end, like, I was still pretty fucked. It was still going on. And, you know, when she finally stopped screaming, she was still angry, but she stopped screaming. She was like, she was done. She ended the friendship right there. She said, I can never trust you again after this. Like, and she just said goodbye and shut the call off.
So does sonic93 have a grudge against your boyfriend? If so, did she have a grudge before all this started?
She 100% does.
Against Gmod Spartan, who I have never spoken to before, by the way.
She's made it clear she hates him.
For what reason? Yeah. Just for taking you?
When we first got together, like, she was actually cool with it, and like it was all good. Like, they didn't talk too much, but they did a few times here and there, and, you know, they got along fine. It was fine. Like, Gmod even supported our friendship. Like, I thought it was all good, but then later on, she started accusing me of, like, spending more time with him than her, and she was accusing me of replacing her with him. She just, out of nowhere, just started hating him.
That's definitely weird.
When he didn't even do anything to her.
That's definitely weird.
It got... I mentioned our friendship was rocky at this point. Like, around the time I was with him for a while and I got a job and everything, that's when it went really downhill.
That sounds like she's very clingy and protective as well. Like, that's really bad as well.
I was gonna say, that gives off vibes of, like, almost like a control freak. She wants everything her way, or it's or for lack of a better term, it's the fucking highway. Like,
right? Like, I constantly had to tell her, look, I'm not going out of my way to spend more time with him than you are. It's just, you know, I don't have as much free time as I used to when we were younger. I can't get enough time to talk to you every day like I used to. We were talking one day, and we were actually doing a video call at the time. So, I can't remember if she brought it up or something, but she was wearing makeup, and something that she said she didn't do very often, but she just felt like wearing some, and I was like, okay. So, you know, we were talking about it, and she actually said to me, do you think Silver would like it?
What? What?
Whoa.
I mean,
he's a fake character. Oh yeah, baby. Let me see your makeup. I'm a fake fictional headshot.
Pretty self-explanatory there. You were an extremely angry person then, and you still were even after the dramas that involved Jane and Brandon were long since over. Amy had moved on from ranting and started her own life, started dating a person you were weirdly jealous of because Gmod Spartan was apparently what you claim to be quote-unquote stealing Amy away from you. If that ain't jealousy and controlling, I don't know what is. And the fact that you screamed and yelled at her and still sounded angry after you were done and finally cut ties with her and cut her off entirely, it's just, that is showing your true colors and the mask coming off entirely. Not to mention that you started acting like the people you hated and ranted on, aka Jane and Brandon, asking things like, would Silver like it if I wore makeup like this? Dude, have some self-control. And if you don't want to act like the people you hate and have unnecessary grudges with, then don't fucking act like them. And if you didn't want that out in the public, then maybe you should have kept it to yourself. I'm just saying.
And how would you know that the toxicity started when they were teenagers? Especially what you said after from both Amy-chan and sonic93's Q&A videos. Obviously it wasn't toxic back then. It contradicts what you first said right there. It is so terrible, I'm surprised you didn't notice that. Clearly you pulled that out of your ass and thought you knew what you were talking about. You don't even know what toxicity is, even if it hits you. In your original video, you called Sonic93 manipulative, abusive, and possessive towards Amy-chan with no factual evidence. You are only taking what Amy-chan said in Dunzel's interview. You slandering Sonic93 with contorted titles with no substantial evidence is forged toxicity. And speaking of Amy-chan, Sonic93 didn't go to her because Melody was criticizing Silver as a character. That's what Amy wants you to believe. In actuality, Sonic93 went to her because Melody was making many illogical points and constant complaints towards Silver's actions and as a character, along with Melody claiming herself to be a huge Silver fan. And the last bit with the clip you showed, you are missing a big portion of the story of why Sonic93 cut ties with Amy-chan. How is it self-explanatory when Amy-chan herself can't even remember how it all started, and you're taking what she is saying is factual? If anyone wants to know about the other half of the story, you can find it here with my interview with Sonic93, because you're not going to find it here in Ryla's video. Wait, on how did she ruin her reputation as a human being?
Oh my god!
Do you really want to know how she ruined her reputation? Alrighty then. I'ma spell it out for ya. Getting mad at a then 13, or was it 14, 15, an alleged teenager about a character they were a fan of while critiquing their characteristics, and made an entire video regarding said teenager. Alleged teenager. You could say Melody wasn't an innocent little angel all you want, but they were still a teenager while Ruth is a grown-ass woman getting mad at a teenager's opinion on a character they liked. Ruth ain't the innocent saint she claims to be either. Again, watch and listen to the interview Dumbsville had with Amy-chan, and the truth shall floweth forth. Yeah, I barely even know these people at all, but if you ask me, I'd rather take the word over a victim with a consistent story rather than the toxic friend who threw said ex-friends under the bus a multitude of times with one of them, I might add.
It's very ignorant that you don't know how old Melody Sugarplum was during the origins. If you're going to make that argument, the least you can do is know how old she was. So I'll explain this history lesson along with my rebuttal. Melody Sugarplum was 15 years old when Sonic93 made her first video before the mini rant series started. However, it was never important how old she was to begin with in the drama, because if it was, Alduin would put more emphasis on the issue in her first video instead of mentioning it at the very end in that same video. While some people would think it is unethical for Sonic93 to be screaming at a teenager's journal in DA, I'm not here to dispute morality because it never was about it. It was about some teenager having terrible opinions about a fictional character she likes when in reality she despises, to the point where she wants Silver to be removed from Sega, and claims to be a huge fan when there are reasonable arguments to prove otherwise. So I guess you can say Sonic93 was being ruthless. And FYI, myself and Sonic93 did watch the interview. It's right here. You should really start doing research more often in your videos. Criticism applies to all, no matter who you are.
Who are you talking about? Now, you put plural, as in more than one person. If you only put singular, I would immediately assume you're referencing Dumbsville, because back then, that was the main issue people had when it came to me and him. That I was betraying him, throwing him under the bus, and I had plans on backstabbing him. Other than him, the statement is really vague. Of whom else have I been betraying their trust?
Okay, I'm starting to see a problem with my speech patterns and the way I word things. That aside, I was not only referring to Dumbsville about how you backstabbed him and Amy-chan for how much of a toxic and controlling friend you were when your true colors started showing, and how you want to make a rant video in regards to Melody and her criticizing Silver as a character she also likes, mind you, but others whom you considered friends as well. The artist who made your admittedly cool-looking sprites at the time you made those newer videos, Super Sprite 65, was another one of those people, if I'm correct in saying so. And let's not forget your other former friend, Draco, whom confirmed what you are like behind the facade you've put up behind your channel. Need I also remind you of how many times you threw Amy-chan under the bus?
One of the biggest reasons is that I got lack of, if not even any, support from Amy, which caused the drama to escalate without a proper solution.
Enough said, right? Also, since you censored out the screenshots, whether it was accidental or purposefully is up for debate, we don't really see the full conversation about the discussion, or whether or not you should have made a video on Melody Sugar Plum. Hell, if you just left it be and not started shit like that in the first place, none of this would have happened, right? But you just had to act like one of those fans because they dare criticize your precious husbando because you're always right no matter what, right? Like, if you said the sky is green and the grass is blue, and someone came up to you and said, no, you're incorrect and here's why, and you start yelling and screaming at them, that caused a chain reaction in regards to the things you've said and done. Gee, just like how you try to start shit with Melody Sugar Plum and your former friends like Amy-chan and Dumbsville, because not only did they disagree with you about how right you were about protecting your husbando and calling Melody a fake fan, and gatekeeping her, and trying as hard as you could to prove yourself in the right, and they started to see the person you truly were behind the mask.
You shouldn't be talking about what happened between Amy-chan and Sonic93 if you don't know what truly happened, and it's none of your business. That should be obvious to you. What am I even saying? I'm giving advice to someone who calls herself a fucking moron.
This is the last and final time I will say this. I'm a fucking moron.
This is the reason why I named my first mini rant series video The Moment of Truth. Melody is not as innocent as she is made out to be, because the constant victimization of everyone involved in the drama is either completely false or just exaggerated. In both Valak and especially Melody's case, as Moondisk states, Valak was not even once involved in the drama, despite him being the victim of not sharing the same opinion of Silver as Sonic93 and giving him valid critiques. His video I originally talked about and his channel is nowhere to be found. And with Melody Sugar Plum, it was the whole she's a minor and got screamed by an adult in a nutshell. But the things people stated, Melody never felt those things. In fact, She proved my point by harassing other people who actually liked Silver. And my point was, she was never a Silver fan to begin with. And her hate on him never initiated because of me. It was, according to her, because of the Archie comics. So, how did I exactly mentally mess them up? Also, I love how you say Sonic fans instead of Silver fans because, again, that was the main problem in the first place.
Well, Melody wasn't innocent, and she has a right to criticize a character based on whatever it was that made her not like him as much, or not become a Silver fan anymore. Did that really warrant and trigger you so badly to make a video ranting about the person in question?
And what does that matter to who she or anyone wants to make a video on? Whether it be a person or a subject, so as long as that there is a reason. Sonic93 had valid reasons why she made her rant video on Valak and Melody. If you listen to what she is saying in that video, you will find the validations to why she made it to begin with. Unlike you, who has no reason to make this video, and even if you did, it's not a good one. You have no knowledge of any of the events and what is truly happening and basing it on what you think what happened, making opinions that hold no weight, arguments that can't be disproven just by actually watching the videos, misrepresenting Sonic93 and continuously making the same false remarks that you said 2 years ago, only this time it's more industrial. Truly despicable of you.
Not only are there a bunch of lies and extremely typical things I have seen people say to the ones who are hated on the internet, I can't help but sense a contradiction to the whole if you get better, by all means, you can return on YouTube for a fresh start. I thought you said I'm gonna get backlash regardless. Now, don't take me wrong, you're not wrong about that. However, it does sound like you're trying to encourage me to return if I so-called improved, and you and everyone else would welcome me back with open arms. Which in reality, I am fully aware that it's false and it just makes your point invalid, and not to mention, you couldn't care less about me and my struggles throughout the whole drama if you say that you wish me the best, yet believe I'm the worst human being to ever exist on this planet.
Okay, along with my speech and incorrect wording, I'm also seeing another problem with me and contradiction. But glad you agree with that. Also, but here's the thing. Yes, you do claim that I don't care what struggles and misfortunes you have had beyond your personal life. That doesn't mean I don't want you to improve and work on yourself and at least take care of yourself, or have someone be there for you to help you in the long run, even if you don't want their help. And I don't mean get a job outside of the internet. I mean work on yourself in general. You want to get healthy? Eat healthy foods and exercise more to feel good. Want to work on how you interact with people and socialize? Maybe watch the videos and reflect on your actions based on how you treat people to improve on how you behave both IRL and online, and hopefully try to work to improve those broken friendships. Want to stop your bad behavioral habits? Seek a therapist. And yes, while I did say you're a terrible person, that automatically doesn't mean I don't think you're not capable of improvement, like Lyle Convoy, for example. Unless you don't see anything wrong with what you said or did in the past, then you're still capable of improvement. You have to want it, and not just need improvement. Lyle doesn't want improvement either way. He needs it, he doesn't want it. Not sure how
You're not going to pull that annoying shit with me. There is no incorrect wording on your end. You knew exactly what you said when you said it. Play the clip.
I don't know if you're able to redeem yourself at this point, but if you get some serious mental help for whatever issues you got, do come back on the internet with a fresh new start. But you are gonna get backlash no matter fucking what. Aside from all that, I do hope the best for you. Despite how horrible of a person you are, when your true colors are shown, I hope you get better and start anew one day.
Not only are there a bunch of lies and extremely typical things I have seen people say to the ones who are hated on the internet, I can't help but sense a contradiction to the whole if you get better, by all means, you can return on YouTube for a fresh start. I thought you said I'm gonna get backlash regardless. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not wrong about that. However, it does sound like you're trying to encourage me to return if I so-called improved, and you and everyone else would welcome me back with open arms. Which in reality, I am fully aware that it's false and it just makes your point invalid. And not to mention, you couldn't care less about me and my struggles throughout the whole drama if you say that you wish me the best, yet believe I'm the worst human being to ever exist on this planet.
The level of ignorance of you. When you upload a video, there is no accidents of your intentions, Rylu. And you should have been aware of what you were saying for the importance of your documentary. Sonic93's response to what you said in your first video says it all. Your contradiction is literally there. You expect Sonic93 just to improve herself only just to come back so that the community can start messing with her again? Wishing her the best but telling her that she is a terrible person? There is a good reason why your point is rendered invalid, because of how stupid it was. And just what I think, it can't get any worse than that. You terribly compared Sonic93 to Lyle Convoy. Are you even aware of what Lyle actually did? Here is the difference. Sonic93 was screaming at a point from a DA journal that was typed by a teenager on video recording. Sonic93 and Melody Sugarplum never once have any interactions. Lyle, on the other hand, actually screamed at a teenager named Jax on video recording, and in that exact recording, those two have interactions.
He was the aggressor the whole time and threatened to show up to Jax's house, and in this call would even confirm that he followed through with this threat to cause school all over a petty internet yelling fight. In leaked DMs at Queen Seraphina, he even states his intentions was to give him a good scare, showing how blatantly malicious he was treating Jax after he stood on business when Lyle was trying to threaten him into submission.
That sounds good, nice and dandy, but I gotta say that statement has a flaw. And the main flaw is, what grudges have I been holding? Like, this is the third time you're establishing something without elaborating what you're referring to. Are you talking about Dumpsville? Are you talking about Amy? Or Melody Sugarplum? The key question is, who are you referring to?
All of them. Dumpsville, Amy Chan, Melody Sugarplum, Jane, Brandon, literally anyone who you either cut ties with or made a rant video on. Granted, my points and lessons at the end of the Don't Be Sonic93 video, any of my Don't Be videos aren't directed towards anyone in general. In regards to that question, if that's what you're referring to, and implying that I should say whom you've held grudges against. The points I make are basically lessons to be learned from the infamous person in question.
The reason why Sonic93 says, "Who are you referring to?" is because you were not specific when you said that she was holding grudges, and I won't be surprised if you can't remember where you got that from. If the points you make are lessons to the infamous person in question, then it is needed for you to be direct. And that's not an opinion, that's in general. That's why it is important to be specific. Otherwise, no one's going to know who are you talking about.
I beg to differ because a lot of people were thrilled that I left. And before, I had thoughts on leaving around 2 to 3 months before finishing a Dumpsville video as a sign of me moving on from the drama. And I know you said you don't understand of me wanting a closure, but that was the main reason why I left. I achieved it and didn't feel the need to stick around the drama any longer, and as you stated, moving on from it. And P.S. if I never left, Amy would have never had the guts to return on the platform. You know, the one you claim she was so bold, brave, and moving on from all the things she's been through with me. I don't think she ever would have gotten to that point if I was still around, so you're very welcome that my sudden disappearance was beneficial to Amy-chan and the haters as well.
I mean, you're right. I'm gonna give y'all that much. Granted, you decided to return in a collaboration with Moondisc to react to this video because... why? Y'all going after smaller channels like mine and not someone like Just a Robot, for example? Honestly, kind of a cowardice move if you ask me. Is it also because I too am on the autism spectrum? I think it's a mix of both. I feel like it is, but hell with it, I suppose. Also, I think it might partially be my fault for uploading that video and making it at least a year or 2 or 3 late after the drama was over. Again, I know I'm slow. I have learned my lesson. I have a better upload schedule now. Leave me be! And you are right that Amy Chan wouldn't have made that comeback she made when you left the platform you two created. But she's long since moved on from ranting, and you were also the part of the reason as to why she went on that hiatus. And if you didn't want the information of you being dubbed as the quote-unquote crazed silver fangirl to be out there in the public that Amy stated in her interview with Dumbsville, then maybe you should have reflected on your actions before yelling and screaming at Amy the way you did the day you cut ties with her for whatever petty bullshit reason you had. Was it with her not agreeing to the Melody video you made? Was it her distancing herself from you because she's a life outside of the internet and you haven't been chronically/terminally online all the time? We don't have a recorded call or screenshots, so we'll never know what actually happened. We only have the testimonies and statements and red flags of you throwing Amy Chan under the bus for whatever petty reason you had with her. If you didn't want the drama to happen in the first place that led to your downfall, then maybe you should have taken a page out of Amy's book and not have done the things you did and moved on from ranting and raging at people the way y'all did once upon a time.
Why? Because you are misleading the community with a false narrative mistaken to be true. With the abundance of mistakes from this presentation, I've even taken the time making a comment in your first video explaining all the errors you made. I also left a comment in your community post asking a few questions and giving my reasons on why it is a bad idea to create your video, and you never acknowledged it. Furthermore, I don't know what you are talking about when you say that we are going after smaller channels like yourself. By the time I'm typing this script, I have 314 subs on my channel. You have merely 5k subs. You must be tripping. And speaking of the topic that sounds very familiar, it's like I had a conversation on the same subject, which I did respond by saying Rylu was not the only person I challenged. There are many others smaller and greater than her. Throughout my history in this channel, I demonstrated my commentary videos as is intended, regardless of position in the CC or whatever faction you may call it. You shouldn't have the audacity to call me and sonic93 cowards when you yourself have been avoiding confrontation about the subject for 2 years. Pussy! And for the record, I would make a response to Jar if he had any actual relevance in the event to begin with. And you still go on like you know what happened between Amy-chan and sonic93. How about you stop pretending like you know what you're talking about? At this point, you hold no obligation to speak on the subject, and this video has proven enough. Now I'm going to make my conclusion. You know, you think about the people who still take Rylu Puppy's video like it's the truth when it is clearly shown that it is just a terrible documentary video, if you can even call it that, are just mindless sheep that will follow anything what a person puts out and not think for themselves or come up with their own conclusions when they should. Yet, to this day, the same mistakes repeat over and over, and it is dreadful that nobody learns from their mistakes. And that should be important. The counterintuitive mindset on Rylu's nature is something that is rendered unnatural to take any form of knowledge or respect for the purpose to avoid confrontation when it is present. Her Don't Be series is supposed to be a be aware video by design, to showcase misconduct of individuals that have negatively affected others and the environment around. But during the time when she did announce that she was planning to make a response from another video, she did claim that her Don't Be series is not a be aware type of video.
First of all, my video is not a beware type of thing in regards to Sonic93.
But later in her latest video about the commentary community, she says this.
Around 2016 to 2017, I entered the commentary/ranting community, mostly to make beware videos on certain users that were unhinged as hell, or to help people either reflect on their actions and own up to their own wrongdoings and calling them out on their BS, or even wanted to help those improve on their craft, whatever that might be it art, videos, whatever.
That is the type of action that no one should be respecting. Not only that she is lying to the audience, she lies to herself. The fact that you are willing to lie about the event that you put no effort in researching to scorn on the name of Sonic93 for the sake of recognition. You don't deserve any shred of respect from anyone in the CC. That's why I will regard you in my books as the mastery of fools, so that everyone will remember you as one. I pray that no one will seek truth in your presentations regardless of subject. As for me, I have other plans in mind.